Hello, everyone. Myself and my CTO, we always have this big debate as to why we like Vizolution. He thinks it's because of the technology. I think it's because of the business case. But really what we see is whenever there's regulation, there's always a knock-on effect. And let's just take one use case, for example, like the MMR in mortgages. Are we all aware of MMR here? I take it? A few nodding heads. And really the outcome of that was when it came to a consumer trying to get a mortgage, the sales process changed from something like a minimum of 15 minutes to something which suddenly became up to 2 hours. You probably see this as well in the work that you're doing in insurance. As well as that, there was suddenly a lot more documentation, a lot more scrutiny that was required. The regulators suddenly wanted a very, very strong audit trail. So these are all things which banks suddenly needed to really think about. The next knock-on effect was something for the consumer. So for the consumer, it was very, very frustrating. Suddenly, you used to 5 years ago get your mortgage in 15 minutes. Suddenly it was 2 hours. Suddenly people were asking for documentation. There'd be a break in the sales process. It would be, you'd be asked to supply a lot more information and so on and so forth. So the banks, which are depicted by that guy over there, are really trying to push back now and saying, okay, well, how can we solve this problem which is happening? MMR is just one scenario. There are a number of other scenarios. So really what it is if we rewind back to, let's say, the 80s, when you wanted to buy a financial product, it would very much happen in the retail outlet, i.e. the branch. So, high service, but also high cost. And then suddenly all the financial companies were thinking, great, well, we can start playing in this space now. It's a lot, it's a lot lower cost. But now we're thinking, the way regulation is going, these aren't fit for purpose. We have to come up with, as it were, a new touch point. Come up with something which can be leveraged over a legacy touch point, like a contact center, to really make it happen. So really what we're doing is meeting the wish, we believe, of the financial companies and coming up with something which creates a new environment. And we have a number of products, but just to talk about just one, is something which adds a visual effect over and above a phone call. So as we all know, the reason I'm not just standing here and talking, and all the other presenters aren't standing here and talking, is because retention is 6 times higher if you have visuals behind you. As we saw from Charles's presentation, lots and lots of visuals and so forth, understanding and so on and so forth. So really what would happen here is the use case is somebody would phone up, they would then be given a session code, they would go onto their browser on their phone, and then they would be in a position where they could start a session. There would be interactive graphics, all the compliance statements. They could just click on an OK, and you could get digital signature. They could get proposals. They could accept it. And the key thing here is everything that you could do at a retail touch point or in a branch, you could do remotely. So that's really what it is. I won't read all of the different things that you can do, but if you can just imagine all the things that you could do in a branch could be done remotely. That's pretty much the offering. So the company started taking the product to market about 3 years ago now. We've signed the top 4 of the 5 banks in the UK, 2 of the top 5 insurance companies. So Larry, we should talk about that and see how we can make that 5 out of 5. And the similar problems we see also in utilities and telecoms, i.e. more complex sales cycles, compliance issues, and CSAT issues. So those are the 3 main problems that we solve. And just to finish off on the business impact, and as I mentioned at the top, this is something that excites me, quite a lot. If you look at the top banks, what they're really seeing is a sales uplift of between 42 and 47%. And we've done a lot of analysis behind this and said, God, that is ridiculous ROI. It is a paradigm shift. And the reason is, there is this thing about called TCF. And that is all about trying to enable understanding for the end customer. A lot of times customers do not understand the difference between an offset mortgage and other types of mortgages, etc. And using visuals, using interactive calculators, and having an agent there is something which is really, really powerful. The beauty with compliance is everything that happens on the session is automated and recorded, and it's created in a document. So if you look at PPI and the way it costs the industry, I don't know, is it 27 billion that they talk about? This sort of solution would have, would have resolved that. And there are obviously other small benefits like fulfillment costs, etc., by doing everything, digitally. So again, all we wanted to do is just share the word more than anything, and enjoy the pizza. So, hopefully we've done both. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, John Higgins from Marable Solutions. Very impressive customer base there, so you've obviously had a lot of success in what I would have thought is a very crowded marketplace. So I'd be interested to know, what is your USP? Is it your ability to help with customer engagement? Is it the technology? Why you've been so successful?
Yeah, I think it's probably a couple of those. I can drill down into a couple of those things that you mentioned. Firstly, the solution that we have works first time every time. It works independent of browsers. There are no downloads. It works across operating systems, across firewalls. It is quite impressive. So, for example, if we weren't able to do a demo tonight, because what I was going to do, and it would have been cool if it worked, would be for me to be the agent and got every single one of you to log in by going onto your smartphone. And that would have been so cool, because you would have seen it. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that tonight. So it's the fact that it works first time. So I'm sure a lot of us use things like WebEx. They're used in very, very different use cases, different scenarios. And there, sometimes you've got to wait for downloads, this, that, and the other. So from the technology point of view, that's really, really unique. I think the second thing is we've just focused on very, very specific use cases which we know have problems. And remember, we're creating a lot of visuals and slideware behind this, which is shown by the agents. And so therefore, we've sort of learnt what are the things that will really drive ROI, what will get those sales done, on the first call. The third thing is, if you look at the things that are really required, like digital signatures, the ability to create a proposal or a document and get somebody to sign it, interactive calculators, other types of visuals, I don't think there's another player that does all those different things together. I think there are people who do elements of that, but it's the fact that we're able to do all of those that has got our customers quite engaged.
Hi, Andrew Lockley. It seems like you've got a lot of applications outside the banking sector. I just wondered why you'd concentrate solely on that sector.
I think initially we went after the banking sector mainly because of regulation, and so it was really as simple as that. And then only afterwards, when we started tying up that sector, insurance was the next obvious one. And then we had to look at, do we go into government? Do we go into utilities? Do we go into telecoms? And we thought the last two had very, very similar issues to the financial sector. But yeah, the financial sector was very much driven by what we saw as being a regulation-created problem at the time.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.